Welcome back to the Coaches Show. I'm your host, Michael Watson, and this is the first episode of the Coaches Show for this new year, 2012 and 2013 year here. Time flies. Sitting to the left of me right now is a familiar face throughout UIS, and especially within the athletics department, is the head of women's soccer coach, Pete Kowall. How you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you?
How's your summer been?
It's been busy. Recruiting, admin work. Just to get ready for the fall season. So it's been a busy one. But like all coaches, you're ready for the season, and once you get the players in front of you, you're excited and you have a passion, and it's really fun during the fall.
Besides soccer, did you do anything fun over the summer? Anything?
I'm a golfer, so I just recently shot one of my best rounds, so that was happy about that.
Really?
At a pretty tough course.
Oh yeah.
And then trying to eat better. We were just talking about that a couple minutes ago. So it's like my dad said, if it tastes good, spit it out. And I just, trying, but it's difficult.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's always hard to go from one diet to another, but yeah. I feel your pain. Well, going back towards soccer here, concentrate on soccer. When does the fall season really begin for you?
Well, our first exhibition match is Saturday, August 18th at noon. We play at community college coming into town. Our first workouts are next Monday, and so the players come in. Our preseason is a little bit longer this year, so that helps us. There's not so much a rush to get things in order, especially for the ones that didn't come in fit. Their bodies will have a little bit more time to adjust to the extra work that they'll have to do, and penalty runs and things like that. So that's good for us.
That's a real good topic to start talking about is, what do you look for in your athletes in regards to like summer practices leading up to the fall, to the fall season? Like, do you look for, of course you want to make sure your athletes are well conditioned, but I mean, are you looking for your starting crew already? I mean,
not really. Back in May, we sit down with them and we talk to them about what we want them to do over the summer. The NCAA allows us to do certain things like say, we would like you to do this, but we can't say require this or monitor it. And that's another day, but I have a lot to talk about with that. So with all the restrictions we have on us as coaches with recruiting, it seems odd that, conditioning with all the concussions and all the heat-related injuries that we have, it seems odd that we're not allowed to call and say, how's it going? How are your workouts going? We give them that sheet and we hope that they come back. The returners typically, we had a couple kids last year, they kind of blew it off and they realized that after the season that they could have had a better year if they had taken the summer more seriously. So it'll be interesting next week to see how those two kids come back. And they're ready, I think. They'll be ready, I think. We had the most kids on campus over the summer. And so I would drive into work and see a kid running, but you couldn't do anything about it other than just, kind of keep driving and keep going. But obviously it's good. Back in the day, a long time ago, ages ago when I did that, it was sort of a foregone conclusion. You run every day, you work out, you do everything you need to do. Nowadays, it's a little tougher, I think, to motivate those kids to do things on their own. They're sort of, the coach, if the coach doesn't prompt you, you have to, So hopefully, it's hope and faith, hopefully that they'll come in fit. And then you can get to more tactical, technical things rather than worrying about fitness issues.
In regards to a lot of those technical things, you can start looking at those technical things in the scrimmage games. And I know some coaches, they don't really like a lot of scrimmage games before the season, but then some of them do. I mean, do you fall in between, like, as a coach that really likes scrimmage games, or do you really, would you rather have focus and practice? Yeah,
well, first of all, we teach our players that every time they put the kid on, that we want to win any game, whether it's an exhibition, friendly, in training, regular season game, GLVC game, non-conference. So the exhibition games gives us a barometer of where we're at, fitness-wise, technically, tactically. We're moving 3 players from one position drastically to another one. And so we're throwing them into the fire as we did last spring. And they were fine with it. It's now increasing their confidence level. It's now getting them used to that, but also to get them to open their mouths, communicate, and organize in the back. So a lot of that will be video sessions, reading tactical cues, getting used to the game, the speed of the play. So we try to get, good competition, and we try to get them ready for our league play.
Going towards, actually going back in the past season, your team went 4-10 with 2 ties. Looking at the previous season, can you just give us your overall thoughts of your, of your team play, the positives and, and maybe some of the negatives?
Yeah, I think the positive that we won 2 GLVC games on the road. One of them was one of those games where we put everything together. And then, of course, our team thought that they were so great on Sunday, all they had to do was show up. So that was sort of the negative of that weekend. And so we learned quickly that, this league is, it's a very difficult league. And so, but 2 road wins are very, for us, very good, step in the right direction. I think our team is starting to learn how hard they have to train against each other, sort of compromise your popularity, may have to go against your best friend in training in order to prepare for Friday and Sunday matches. And so I think they've learned that. In the spring, we had some of the best practices we've ever had since I've been here. And so I'm going to remind them of that on Monday, that's how they have to train to get better. And so when we train, we're trying to get better, but we're also trying to help the other person get better. And it's kind of exciting also to see the evolution of some of the kids, because some of them have said to me that they've never been pushed or they've never been asked to do these things or those things. And so it's also refreshing to see them learn new things and try and get better. But again, it's all the lead up, build up to our first league games. And, I put a couple of really tough games before our regular season in there in Truman and Lindenwood. And those 2 games are going to be true reflections of how we're going to do in the league. And so one's on turf and one's on grass, which is perfect for us because we're going to play a couple of games on the road on turf. We want to get them used to that environment. So looking forward to it.
Speaking of Truman State, you open up your season at Truman State. Being new to the conference, is that a challenge, seeing a new team come into a new conference?
Well, they're a very athletic team, and they're a very seasoned, very intelligent team. And so it's going to be, for our team, it's going to be, I think, a lesson learned one way or the other. And so for our players to get in there and play against that kind of competition on the road is something that we want to get them in. So for me, it's perfect. It's a win-win for me. Getting back on the bus, I'll have lots of information, and it'll help me prepare for Tuesday training. And so there's no loss there.
Looking at your senior class, it's highlighted by a very talented forward, Erin Egoff, who she had 6 goals in this past season. Looking at the senior class, what do you expect from that, from that core? And is that leadership? What are some of the qualities that you want that you want the seniors to display among the team?
We moved Liz to an outside mid position last year. Allie played up front or in the midfield. Erin played in the midfield up front. So, yeah, I mean, those 3, I think, they got better as the spring went on and as the fall and the spring went on. So I think what we asked them to do is just, they're the type of players that go to training and play. They're not tremendously vocal. They're not tremendously, you're not going to come up to somebody and go, hey, this is what we need to do. Although they can do it and they're smart enough to do that. That's not really their demeanor or nature. And so they lead by example, and they work hard in training, which is great. And all 3 of them hate to lose, which is great for me. Sometimes it's good for a coach at the end of the session or the end of the game not to have to say anything. And that's when our evolution has been where, it's not always good to hear the coach after a game. And sometimes, a couple games in the spring especially, there was one bad game we had this spring where I literally didn't have to say much after the game, and which is good for me.
It's always good.
Looking for them to lead on the field as they do and to help us score goals. That's really what we need to do. Erin got marked out in a couple games last year. The other coaches would always yell out number 2 on set pieces because Erin's so good on set pieces. So they kind of marked her out. She got frustrated with that. We had a couple meetings about that because I told her that was going to happen. I'm not sure if she believed me or with a 3.8 GPA, she just didn't think about it. I'm not sure. But I think she's so competitive and she loves the game so much that sometimes she has to withdraw herself from the game and then let it come to her. And we're also teaching our players how to involve her in the attacking third. So it's still a work in progress.
You know, as I mentioned before, Truman State's your first, really big test. Like when do you start scouting for that? I mean, is that towards the end of the spring or is that in midsummer? As a coach, when did you when do you start really scouting?
Yeah, it's 50-50 for me. I think, sometimes when I give an elaborate 45-minute scouting report, the players nod and say, yes, coach, and then we go out there and then it's, we focus on what we're trying to do, and that's really my focus. We're still a relatively young team, and so I try to, limit the number of things they have to think about. And so really, I scout a little bit, but I really don't, we might say here's their leading scorer, here's how they play, but I already know how they play. And I think for us it's going to be great because they play very much like Drury, for example. They play very much like Indianapolis. They play very much like Southern Indiana. So for us, it's an awesome, it's going to be an awesome day in terms of us seeing that and then what we're going to try and focus on is 2 different formations. And we're going to try and make them adjust to us, basically.
Looking at your team today, going into this new season, what are some of the strengths you see and maybe some of the weaknesses that you need to address as a coach going into the season?
Well, since you do such a great job of videotaping and getting this online, I'm not going to tell you our weaknesses. Yeah. But our strengths really are going to be I think this is the first time where I can say that we're really going to be a little bit more experienced. We're going to have some seniors and juniors on the field that have been through the whole league. They've seen everybody. They've been on the road twice. And so they know what the competition level is like. And they also know what the expectations are. So, if I'm walking up and, people are working out in the weight room or they're, getting ready for training, they know what I expect from them. And so I think hopefully a little bit more experience will be on our side so that when we walk up on the road to a field, that they're ready to start when the whistle blows rather than me telling them they have to. And then also to make in-game adjustments. Like we were at Parkside a couple years ago and our captains changed the formation. And that's because we had talked about it in training. We're not going to yell it out. We're not going to announce it to the other team. And Troy's smart enough to know that we did it, but hopefully 5-7 minutes later. And we did have a couple chances on goal that day. And so, those are the kinds of things that our players know. And sometimes they'll change positions or just stay in other positions if they bypass someone and someone just inverted. Like Kim can play in center mid, Aaron can play up top. Allie can play center mid, she can play up top. So we know those kinds of things and they know those kinds of things. So we're hoping that is going to be our biggest strength.
That's good. And for more information on Coach Kowall's team and upcoming schedule, you can always check out the UIS Athletics homepage at uisprairiestars.com. And I just want to thank you very much, Coach, for giving some of your time, and good luck to the next season.
Thanks.
As your host, Michael Watson, and this has been the first episode here at the Coach Show. Until next time, I'll see you later.